Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. My name is Joe and today I'm joined by Mark, aka the FPL General, to discuss Game Week 4 with a special focus this week on forward players. Welcome Mark, how are you?
I'm good, Joe. As always, feels like an eternity, this international break. They should be banned,
Oh,
especially after international tournaments. So we're on the home straight. We're recording on Wednesday, so just a couple more days to go. And
yeah.
I think we've got 4 weeks, 4 game weeks before the next one. So let's hope there's four green arrows on the way.
Definitely, yeah. It's been very long for me because I made my transfers just after the first weekend of the matches. So yeah, I've got nothing to do. I've got nothing to think about. I've just got to hope everyone's fit, and I may have to make an early move next week as well. So
Yeah,
that's the
I
way.
forget. I forget what making Last time I made an FPL transfer was in May. So yeah, haven't made one yet this season. It
Oh,
feels
blimey!
bizarre.
Oh,
Like by the
blimey!
time we get to Friday, it's roughly 30 days since the season started. No transfers made. So I've always been a patient manager, but I think I've taken it to a new level now.
Well, yeah, I'm usually a patient manager, but yeah, three transfers down, and I'm probably going to wildcard in a couple of weeks. So not being that patient at all.
Yeah.
Before we move on, just want to give a plug to the members area at Fantasy Football Scout. Any stats you see here, they will be from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. There's an app as well. This season has launched, so it's good there, particularly with the planning tool there. I find that very useful. So I plan the weeks ahead. Just a reminder as well, do press that like button, does help us out. And also do remember to subscribe so you can up to date with our latest videos and podcasts, and leave a nice 5-star review wherever you're listening to this. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to look at just a recap of your Game Week 14. We looked at that in our last video to see if international breaks has changed your thoughts at all. So you just talk about your team, any moves you may or may not make. We will then have a special focus on forwards. We spoke about defenders and midfielders to target last week. I'm sure many on your watch list, Mark. So we'll look at the forwards there. And if we're time, we'll just have a bit of a recap on the old Captaincy Matrix that's been doing the rounds this week on a number of videos. Okay, let's have a look at your team. So this is for Game Week 4 so far. No changes. I've got a picture of Bruno Fernandes right next to it, looking sad. So yeah, do you want to explain who's in your team and what changes you might make? Last time we
It's
spoke,
funny
Fernandez
you
was
mentioned the main man is beside me here as well.
oh, he's everywhere.
He hasn't earned the right to be up on the wall yet this summer, and I actually might just stick it on eBay or something and get rid of it at this point. So yeah, he hasn't been there for a while. So yeah, recap of the team. Unfortunately, Bruno Fernandes is still in there. Henderson's in goal. I've got Gabriel, Munoz, and Konsa at the back. Saka, Jota, Bruno, and Eze across the middle. Haaland with the armband. Joe Pedro home to Ipswich, and Isak. And currently on the bench, Pedro Porro, Harwood Bellis, and Sangare. So since we spoke about 10 days ago, I mean, not a huge amount has happened, but obviously players have gone away and played. Konsa seems to have picked up some kind of knock, so I'm going to keep a close eye on that one. Hopefully, nothing serious. Elsewhere, Joe Pedro went to Brazil. Went to play for Brazil when he wasn't going to initially, but I think he's traveling back today, Wednesday, so not
Yes.
really worried about that. I expect him to start against Ipswich. Elsewhere, yeah, I don't think. Again, I've been lucky so far this season. No major, injuries or bad luck so far, which is all good. Reflecting back on our video 10 days ago, I was very much torn on, is it Salah that comes in? Is it Cole Palmer? Trent and Palmer, or Robertson and Salah. And again, there's obviously a couple of other options I'm thinking about as well. I suppose the other thing that happened during the break, Odegaard looks like he's out for about a month. So I've always kind of been planning to lose Saka this game week, so I feel a little bit more comfortable doing so now when, one of the key picks in that team is going to be out for a wee while. So that just makes it a little bit easier to sell him. He'll probably still punish, but yeah, thankfully nothing major. And like I said, I haven't made a move yet this season. 3 free transfers, and there's a good chance I'll actually use all 3 of them on Friday night or Saturday morning. I'm very much eyeing up the game week 6 wildcard.
Okay, yeah, I'm heading towards a Game Week 6 wildcard too. So Saka out for Salah, funded by a couple of other moves. So what were you minded to do at the moment?
Yeah, so I think the most obvious one is Saka to Salah by getting rid of Bruno Fernandes and I'm keen to hear your thoughts on some Brighton attackers today. It could be Rodgers at Villa. It could also be mint day for 2 weeks with two good home fixtures. There's an alternative where Matoma could come in as well. So keen to hear your thoughts on those two. And then also Gabriel would go for 2 weeks, and it would either be Robertson or Trent,
Yeah.
depending on who I go for. So if I go Salah, it has to be Robertson. If I go Cole Palmer, it could be Trent, and then it could be a more expensive player than Rodgers as well. So that's the three spots I'm looking at. And I think when you look at the fixtures, it all makes sense if I'm planning a Game Week 6 wildcard.
Yeah, I've moved Saka out to Salah already, and I wanted Pedro in, and so Isak has made way for Pedro. That was the easiest way for me to do that. I am lacking any Liverpool defence, and that is a big problem for me. You have the opportunity for free to get Alexander Arnold in for Gabriel. What I would personally do is I would definitely do Saka to Salah, Gabriel to Alexander Arnold, because I do think that is worth it. On our goals and assists imminent podcast I do with Mark Joblin this week, we just recorded that, and Alexander Arnold is top of assists imminent. He is very much due a haul there, and he's already the top scoring defender, I believe. He hasn't even got an attacking return. So I don't know how much money you've got left from that. So whatever you've got left, if presumably Fernandez is out to fund some of that, whatever money you've got left, I've got Minter. I think he's a great option, and I'm really happy the next two fixtures to have Minter and Pedro. If you've got enough to go to Matoma, I like that as well. I think I've been asked a lot about this, about Brighton players, their minutes. It's really hard to judge any Brighton player. You've got to accept they'll be on reduced minutes purely because there's so many options, and that's what you have to buy into. So is no one like guaranteed? Pedro's not guaranteed, but all of the most of the front players, apart from Welbeck, have played international minutes, have been travelling somewhere, and that includes their backups. So people might say, "Oh, Minter will get rested." Oh, what for Adingra? That other guy who's also been playing for his country, Matoma will get rested. Well, will he? And so on. Pedro will get rested because he played 45 minutes for. In South America, but Enciso also played as well for his country. So it goes like that. I think I'm happy with a team like Brighton to get a player that may be benched and come on in the last 20 minutes. And I'd be less keen on a player at Liverpool, a team that are looking like they're going to see out matches. So I've got Jota. If he's benched, last season I'd have been really happy to see Jota last 20 minutes against tired legs. This season I'm not. Whereas with Brighton, I'm really happy to see any Brighton attacker come on last 20 minutes against tired legs.
Yeah, good points on Brighton. I think I like Minte a lot just for the 1 million saving
Yeah.
on Matoma. I feel like there might be a few more routes to points with Minte as well in terms of set pieces. Just going back to what you said there, the obvious thing for me to do is get Trent, get Salah. But as is often the case in FPL, it's not straightforward because I would only have 4.7 for Bruno Fernandes replacement. So in that case, it's not even enough for Rodgers. But I have looked at it because what I could do there is Trent comes in, Salah comes in, get a Harry Winks for a Bruno, and then just play Pedro Porro for the next two game weeks. Not ideal against Arsenal, but a good fixture game week 5. That would mean Trent, Salah, Jota triple up. It would also mean a 4-3-3 formation for two game weeks before the wild card, which I don't love. But then I'm going to probably have to, I think I'm going to just have to decide on whether I want Trent or Salah more and maybe just get Robertson instead of Trent. And then I think the midfield position is better than playing Porro against Arsenal.
Yeah, the reason I was sort of stuttering and I've got to be really careful with this. I'm on a bit of a campaign this week to urge people not to get Robertson. I'm going to be probably priced out of getting him this weekend. So I don't want his price to go up because Quansah, who would have to go to make way for him, his price will go down. I'm sure of it. So yes, annoyingly, you are right. Robertson would be a good player to get in. If you can get Saka to Salah, Gabriel to Robertson, and Fernandes to Minte, that would be much better for the next 3 weeks. Next 2 weeks. Next 2 weeks.
It does sound a lot better than the 4-3-3 route. And also the spanner in the works there is the Konsa injury too. If he was to miss Everton, then I'm looking at Harwood Bellis or Sangari, which I don't really want to do, or Harry Winks. But again, so I think what you said there, just thinking out loud here, it's good to discuss this. I think Sa Robertson, Salah, and Minte is doable and
Brilliant.
sounds fantastic. But I also like Trent, Cole Palmer, and again, Minte or Matoma.
Okay,
So I
yeah.
don't think there's much in
No.
that, but I do think Salah is probably more important. He's got the two home fixtures, Palmer's got the two away fixtures. So yeah, I think most likely Robertson, Salah, Minte is where I'll end up going.
Yeah, if I was had your team, I would do that move, those moves. Salah, yeah, you look at game week 4, Haaland's at home to Brentford, but then you look at game week 5, Salah at home to Bournemouth, Haaland against Arsenal, and then suddenly you're going to really want Salah. So to already have him in place, and he's going to go up again in. We'll see. He's gone up twice. He should probably
Yeah,
go
I
up
think so.
more.
And I think again, what swings it in Salah's favour over Palmer, I think, give me 5 captaincy. It has to be Salah because he's got Arsenal that week, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So I think that'll swing it, and Salah will come in again. It's just keeping FPL simple. I'd love to have Trent, but we can't have them all. So Robertson's not a bad alternative.
Yeah, the annoying thing about doing all of these moves is obviously you've got to move player. In my case, I've removed Saka and Isak. You're going to remove Saka and Fernandes. Fernandes is playing Southampton away. Like Alexander Arnold being top of the assists imminent table, Bruno Fernandes is top of the goals imminent table going into this week, posting the best underlying stats of a player that has scored one or less or fewer goals. Yeah, there's always a risk with these things, but I think they'll pay off easily. Going for Liverpool and Brighton players, especially for the next two, they've got two of the best home matches you could hope for, both of them.
Yeah, I mean, I've been patient with a 3 free transfer, so I feel like now, deploy them, make the most of them, and hopefully just attack those fixtures for 2 game weeks, and hopefully it'll result in 2 green arrows.
Okay, so last week we looked at midfielders and defenders. So do have a look at that. I mean, that's all about Game Week 4 as well. That's valid for people to look at. That's all on the Fantasy Football Scout YouTube channel, and it'll be a podcast there. But this week we're looking at forwards. So I've done a table of forwards. This is for all matches so far this season, and I've sorted it by minutes per expected goal involvement. I haven't really highlighted anyone because pretty much most of them are good solid assets. Either they're got strong potential of returns, or they're just very useful and they might get a return and they're quite cheap as well. So we'll start at the top. It's Haaland. He's in your team. He's in my team. He's in an increasing number of teams, but he's still not in a third of teams. And that third of teams are doing really well if they've got Salah and spread the cash wisely. So Haaland hasn't been essential so far. It seems like he has with back-to-back hat-tricks. But yeah, he's 15.2 now. Minutes per expected goal involvement every 68 minutes. Brentford at home next, then Arsenal. So Haaland, yeah, I mean, he's a keep, in your team. Happy to have him, I presume.
Yeah. It's I just think the way he's playing and the reliability he has when you captain him, it's just an easy decision at the moment on current information. Now, if I wildcarded in game week 3, I probably would have lost him and spread the cash around. But again, if I was wildcarding game week 4, I don't think I would because you want to captain him at home to Brentford. I think a lot of game week 4 wildcarders will probably try and fit in both now, which again makes sense because of what's happened fixture wise. At least in game week 4 is good for both. Maybe not so much afterwards for Haaland, but again, it's another reason why I'm holding off until game week 6 instead of game week 4 for the wild card. I just want a bit more information. Do we need both? Can we get away with just one? There's teams out there with neither that are doing absolutely fine as well. So that's the beauty of the season we've had so far, and hopefully it continues that.
Yeah.
Nobody's essential because the pricing is right across the board. But for now, Haaland's been there. He's got the armband quite often. He's going to be captained again by me this week. And again, it's just something I'll look at again whenever I wildcard.
Yeah, next name on this. I don't know whether he's on your watch list that you do. It's Jackson at Chelsea. 7.6, gone up in price because he's done well so far. His next two are good. Bournemouth and West Ham away. Minutes per expected goal involvement every 96 minutes. So pretty much expected to get a goal involvement a game. And the minutes per shot on target every 44 minutes. So it's pretty strong underlying stats. I don't think he's got too much competition. I suppose Nkunku could play there, but Jackson, I think, is as nailed on as any Chelsea attacker can be. But yeah, I'm not seeing him in many teams, but those that are getting him in have benefited from him.
Yeah, I don't think Jackson's on my watch list, and he probably should be really when you look at these numbers so far. I'm probably falling into the trap of previous experiences with Jackson, where he's a year older now, he's a better player, and all the rest. And again, the transfer window's closed, so there's no. I agree. I don't think there's a huge amount of competition for the out and out striker position in that Chelsea team, and manager seems to like him and has been talking him up, and he's been doing the business. So again, I think myself and others we need to give him some more love, and when the fixtures improve a little bit more, that he should be in the conversation. I just find it hard to put him in a top three forwards at any point. But again, if he keeps getting the minutes, then he could force his way in there. So on the radar, but probably won't be used,
Yeah.
using a free transfer to get him.
No, I mean, it's one of the reasons on my Game Week 6 wild card, I would like to have the price point of around 8 million for a striker. So Havertz, I would currently being a front runner for that position, because not just because it's Havertz, not just because in Game Week 6 Arsenal play Leicester at home, but because it enables me to easily go for Watkins, who we'll speak about later, but also enables me to go for the likes of Jackson as well. So I I'm Jackson curious, but I'm not Jackson. I'm not a huge fan at the moment, but I could be. I don't rule out being a fan of Jackson at some point. Next name is on my Game Week 6 plans firmly. It's Wissa at Brentford. I personally love an attacking double up, and Bomo and Wissa look good together at the moment. He has minutes per expected goal involvement every 103 minutes, so getting on for a goal involvement a game. Tough next couple of two, but so it's Game Week 6 I'm looking at him. But yeah, I mean, I don't know about your sort of further plans with Mbomo as a midfielder, getting him in. But if you did, are you happy to double up the Brentford defence attack rather?
Yeah, absolutely. When if I follow through the Game Week 6 wildcard plan, it's obviously a lot of it's based on fixture swings. Brighton's fixtures get a bit trickier, so João Pedro can very easily become Wissa. Brian Mbeumo will be one of the first names, if not the first name, on my wildcard 6. Would like to get him, Game Week 3, but that's gone now. So yeah, absolutely. Arsenal have great fixtures, Game Week 6 onwards, as do Brentford. They're probably the two key components when we do build that wild card 6 squad if we both go in that game week. And yeah, I think, if it was Game Week 6 right now and the deadline was in 5 minutes, Mbumo and Wissa
Yeah.
would be in there. So yeah, very, very interested.
Next name is Kuna, Wolves. Now, Wolves have got poor opening fixtures. They're in amongst, they're amid a bad run at the moment. But nevertheless, Kuna, in just two starts, his minutes per expected goal involvement every 108 minutes. So he's the fourth best in terms of expected goal involvement. Does have Newcastle and Aston Villa, so the poor run continues. But with a shot on target every 64 minutes, and it's really from game week 9 with Brighton away, which is okay, certainly from an attacking point of view. Then Crystal Palace at home, Southampton at home, and I think this good run goes all the way up to Boxing Day, even beyond that. So I don't rule out Kuna as a forward at some point, but for me, game week 9, I don't know whether he's on your radar yet.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Cunha. I think he's a really good striker and he can be really good value FPL wise. He showed that last year. And again, you talked about your Havertz price point, being able to move to players like Watkins and Jackson. I like Wissa's price point as well because there's always outballs, from him. If the Wissa move Game Week 6 doesn't work out, or when Brentford's fixtures stiffen again, Wissa to Cunha at that point, maybe even for the Christmas period, just makes a lot of sense. So I'm sure I'll own Cunha at some point this season, but it's only when the fixtures are really good for Wolves.
Yeah. Next name is Watkins. He's troubling me this year. He's coming off at 70 minutes. We don't think he's on penalties. He's not getting those attacking returns last season. Even when in poor fixtures, he was getting the odd assist now and again. But he's not getting those points. Nevertheless, his minutes for expected goal involvement is every 113 minutes, which makes him the fifth best forward at the moment, and great couple of fixtures. Everton and Wolves at home. Missed international duty with international itis, I think, but it could be a serious injury. We don't know. I doubt it though. Palmer, who was also withdrawn, is seen happily bibbed up and ready in training for Chelsea. So I imagine the same for Watkins. But yeah, I mean, in a lot of teams, understandably, it's Ollie Watkins. But I'm not going to go there yet.
Yeah, and it's bizarre to think Watkins is going into Everton at home and Wolves at home, and not many people are going to go there. Start of the season, everybody was talking about Watkins around game week 3, game week 4. But again, I always think it's important just to play the season that's in front of you and go on what we've been seeing, and that's there's minutes issues. It's not even 70, it's often 60. And it's not even just the substitutions, it's John Duran performing very well when he does come on. And who's to say Duran doesn't get a start soon and Ollie gets 30 minutes because he's very much knocking on the door, John Duran. So again, I always think if I was playing FPL for the first time this season and if I knew absolutely nothing about previous seasons, then I wouldn't be paying, 8.9 million for a 60-minute forward. So until there's evidence of that improving, and it might not because there's going to be Champions League for Aston
Yeah.
Villa, and it's what is it, eight games in the first round now compared to 6 previously. So yeah, I'm well down on Watkins like many others. Now it's you can still go there as a fixtures play, but in my mind now it's a gamble that you don't need to take when there's other options out there, and his ownership's not crazy high either. So yeah, I'm out on Watkins for the time
Yeah.
being.
Yeah, and that's the other benefit of going for someone like Havertz. You can easily get to Watkins should he, explode with goals as he did last season. But yeah, Champions League I think is a key one. We don't know how the change format's going to impact all sorts of teams, but we certainly don't know how it's going to impact Villa because they're new to this level of European competition for the first time for a very long time. So yeah, I'd like to see if Watkins is being saved for Europe or something like that. Duran could get Premier League starts him. That would be 8.9 for a striker that doesn't start. Ooh.
Yeah. The other thing about Watkins as well was something like 18 assists last year, massively overperformed. I think his XA was maybe only around 4 or something like that. So I think he was always going to regress in some way, at least for the assist side of things. So yeah, I'm certainly not in a rush. There's plenty of strikers to choose from.
Next striker, Evanilson for Bournemouth, the new striker at Bournemouth. I mean, he's started a couple of times. His minutes per expected goal involvement is every 25 minutes, so every sort of game and a bit. It does have Chelsea and Liverpool next, so that's off-putting. But the fixtures do improve for Bournemouth, particularly in 6 and 7. They've got Southampton at home and then Leicester away. I just haven't seen enough of him, and it's Semenyo, I think, as the midfielders getting a lot of the interest. Could be the talisman, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I haven't actually. I've only seen some highlights, and I have no opinion of him. I don't know whether this guy's any good or not.
I can't remember the opponent, but I watched 60 or 70 minutes of him before he was substituted. I think it was his debut, and I thought he looked really good. I thought he looks a really good replacement for Solanke. Maybe still getting up to speed with the Premier League, etc. But the beauty is the fixtures. We can watch him for another 2 games, and if he does perform well against Chelsea and Liverpool, then he might push Wissa, when it comes to my wildcard decision. So he's got a two game week audition coming up.
Yeah.
So certainly on the watch list for now.
Nottingham Forest fixture run continues, although they do face Liverpool next. But on the whole, their fixtures are good. And Chris Wood could be a 60 to 70 minute man. Might be used as a sub. But nevertheless, I'm always. I mean, I've always. That's why I always put the picture of me encased in a tree whenever he scores, because whenever I've owned him, because he's so low owned and so unfashionable, his brace or hat trick really gets you up the rankings. So it's really, really good. And in terms of minutes per expected goal involvement, every 152 minutes, but his minutes per shot on target is every 39 minutes. And amongst forwards that have had 3 starts, that is the best out of any of the forwards we're mentioning. Liverpool and then Brighton away. So yeah, I mean, I'm always okay with having Chris Wood in my team.
Yeah, he's one of those where I don't think he's ever a bad pick because he's cheap. He's been scoring goals his whole career. Um, he's just a good forward, and I've been trying to shake off my priors with him as well. I've kind of been went into the season, no way, not interested. I won he's there, but again, play the season that's in front of you, and so far he's a good FPL asset, and for as long as he is a good FPL asset, I think we should be willing to go there. I think he had a goal chalked off as well in the
Mm.
most recent fixture, another good finish on the turn. So yeah, I think he's first choice for now. And I always say, he's not a problem until he is a problem. And if you have him, you probably stick with him. Although the fixtures are not fantastic,
No.
you might want to bench him against Liverpool. But again, keep an open mind. If it gets to game week 6, he's still getting the minutes, then I'll keep an eye on him when it comes to wildcard decisions.
Yeah, definitely. Xerxes, I'm not even considering. I'm a bit like Chelsea. Manchester United, I just feel that they're a team in flux. I don't know what's going on. I don't know about Xerxes. He's had one start. I mean, by the way Manchester United is set up at the moment, he's probably the best option for them to start. But yeah, Southampton and Crystal Palace away, two good fixtures. Minutes per shot on target every 53 minutes, which is very strong. Um, but I don't know. I mean, you're a Manchester United fan, so I mean, is he worth getting?
No, I don't think so. I've got close to zero interest in Xerxes. I've got Bruno. I'm basically just looking to sell all my Manchester United shares, invest them elsewhere. Xerxes, I've only seen a small amount of him so far. I mean, as has everyone in a Manchester
Yeah.
United shirt. To me, he's still a little bit raw. Lots of improvement to do. Also, when Rasmus Højlund's fit again, Xerxes' minutes will be affected. There's other options there as well. So yeah, he's nowhere near the top three forwards in FPL.
Yeah, and next name is Havertz, a player that mentioned a lot so far because very much in my plans, not just because of his price point, but just because he plays number 9 for Arsenal, and they've got some strong fixtures coming up from game week 6. Um, but I don't know. There could be some changes. Odegaard's, we don't know the extent of his injury. There's rumours that he could be out for 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know whether that could see Havertz push back into midfield. Um, I don't know. But I think wherever he plays, my memory, he was still pretty good for getting returns from midfield last season. But 8.1 minutes per shot on target, one every 90 minutes. Minutes per expected goal involvement, 168. But two tough fixtures, Tottenham, Man City. So his stats aren't as strong as some of the others. But he just strikes me as the kind of player at the moment, he just possibly needs one or two chances, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Havertz as well. I know we kind of splits opinion, but yeah, I think he's a really good player. And the good thing about us as well, if we are planning a Game Week 6 wildcard again, we've got a couple of games to see what the Odegaard absence does to the team. And even if it did mean, Havertz dropping back, maybe Gabriel Jesus coming in up front, I still like him as a pick. If you put Havertz in the Odegaard position, Odegaard's had plenty of good chances himself this season. He's probably should have a lot more FPL points than he does. And maybe if that's a Havertz, maybe he's more clinical. So again, on current information, even if Havertz was to, drop back a little bit, I still think there's every chance he'll be on a Game Week 6 wildcard for me as well, alongside Saka.
So lots of players getting a lot of FPL managers getting Pedro in, myself included, is already in your side. But it's Welbeck's a guy who's been really racking up the points, and I mean he's gone up to 5.7. Yeah, I mean he looks great. I mean I always think of him as really old, but he's not actually that old. And but he just looks in great form. Looks really fit and lean, and has done for about a season or so now for Brighton. Minutes per shot every 83 minutes, which is only marginally better than Pedro. He started all the matches, no international duty. He's got Ipswich and Nottingham Forest at home next. I'll be gobsmacked if he doesn't start, mainly because all of the others have had some kind of international tour of duty for the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was zooming and ahhing about getting Welbeck instead of Pedro, but I just think penalties probably sways it for Pedro for me.
Yeah, I think it's a really close call, and I didn't expect to be saying that at the start of the season. I've actually probably caught more of Brighton, as much of Brighton as I have of other teams, in terms of 90 minutes in the first couple of weeks. And as far as the eye test goes, even if you take away the attacking returns, I think Welbeck has been fantastic. All round play, he offers so much. Defensively. As a first man, harrying the opposition, and if you're a manager, he's one of the first names in the team at the moment. So. And he's doing the business in front of goal as well. He's getting good chances. I seem to remember hitting the woodwork,
Yeah.
once or twice as well. So I wouldn't stop anyone going
No.
Welbeck over Joe Pedro. And again, like you said, I like the idea that he's had the 2 weeks off
Yeah.
from internationals as well. So again, short term, Ipswich and Nottingham Forest. I've even seen a few wildcard drafts this week that have both.
Mm.
Welbeck and Joe Pedro. So you're attacking the fixtures,
Yeah.
and then you're going to probably look to jump off one of them, if not both, afterwards. And again, I don't hate it. I probably wouldn't do it myself, but yeah, they're both very attractive options.
Yeah, definitely. I saw it. What was it, about a season and a bit ago? Saw the game live at the Amex. Watched him in action against Liverpool, and he scored this amazing goal, which I think was reminiscent of Pele. I can't remember. It was this absolutely insanely good goal, and it was right towards the end of the match, which totally dispelled any myths about him being subbed early and yeah. So it's been a good time that he's been in really good form, and he doesn't seem to have that level of injuries that plagued him at Manchester United and Arsenal.
I can't believe you just mentioned Pele and Welbeck in the same
I,
sentence.
don't-
How many
it's
people are
amazing.
switching off?
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. But I don't know. When people see Brighton these days, I don't know. There's a new Inter Miami player that's going to come to Brighton in January. I think it's all been agreed. Is it Gomez? Have a look at his goal if that's doing the round on social media. Pele-esque.
I'm gonna
Pele-esque.
I'm gonna get on the highlight YouTube highlight reel after this video.
Yeah, it's quite something. But yeah, that's quite normal. So we've seen. I mean, we even had Enciso was a Puskas award nominee one season. I mean, this is amazing stuff considering we used to play Cardiff with Dean Stadium. So yeah, Solanke is next. Tottenham. I haven't seen hardly anything of him in a Tottenham shirt, but what I have seen, it gave me hope. But yeah, unfortunately, for the first time in his career, recent career, he's been injured. He's got Arsenal next and Brentford next at home. Minutes per expected goal involvement every 183 minutes. Minutes per shot on target every 30 minutes in just his one start. Not much to go on. But you would imagine if fit, he's going to be the number 9. Spurs fixtures really improve. Gameweek 5, they obviously got Brentford, but then they've got Manchester United, Brighton, West Ham, Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, Ipswich. It's a nice run. Yeah, if I don't get Havertz, I'll probably get Solanke.
Yeah, I mean, you hear it often in other podcasts as well. A Tottenham striker in a Postecoglou system is always going to be a good pick, no matter who they are, because they're going to get loads and loads of chances. We've seen that with Richarlison on many occasions as well. So again, Arsenal next for Solanke. If he's fit and he gets minutes, then you're looking at a decent entry point game week 5 against at home to Brentford again. So yeah, I kind of forgot about Solanke. I'm sure others have as well because of the injury. So certainly keep an eye on his minutes game week 4 with a view to bringing him back in the near future.
So he's going to be a big point of difference between those wildcarding this week and perhaps last week. They're not going to have Solanke. Come game week 6, we might have seen a brace for him against Brentford, for example. He's going to be very popular, and that could be a point of difference, and that coincides with more favourable fixtures for Tottenham. So yeah, Solanke, very, very interested in him. Isak at Newcastle. Yeah, out of my team now. Worried. I don't know if you saw that interview he did where he talked to FPL managers, saying that he's gonna. He's fine with people not owning him because that'll make it even better when he scores a couple of goals. Annoying. So yeah, he's got Wolves and Fulham away. His underlying stats aren't very strong. Minutes per expected goal involvement every couple. Expect to be involved in a goal involvement every couple of games, but he has had 3 starts. He's got me 2 returns, a goal and assist in 3 games, so he's actually not doing too bad. But yeah, he's gone for me in your side, but I presume he's going to stay until game week 6. But will he stay after that?
Yeah, I'm to be honest, I've been feeling quite smug seeing people sell Isak for Joe Pedro, having both already. I feel like having both for the next couple of weeks is a strong position to be in. Pedro has the two home fixtures, and Isak's playing Wolves and Fulham, both away games. But I just rate Isak extremely highly. I rate him as one of the best forwards in Europe in my book, and maybe a bit of a slow start FPL wise to the season, as it has been for Newcastle as well. So I'm hopeful of more points. Game week 4, game week 5, then wildcard game week 6. He's got Man City at home. After that, Everton, Brighton, Chelsea, Arsenal. So I think there's every chance I will take whatever I get from him for the first 5 game weeks, let him go, maybe for a Havertz type or a Solanke, and then maybe game week 11 again, go
Yeah.
back to him. Again, I'm not going to rule out just keeping him as a season keeper as well, because I do rate him that highly. And he could be a 38-week man, but I do play fixtures, and there's a good chance I'll let him go for maybe a 4 or 5 week spell.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very reluctant sell for me. It was the only way I could get the players I wanted to get in. But I've kept Gordon as well, so I'm hoping to get some returns from Newcastle. So
Yeah, and I mean, if Isak was my route to Salah, I'd be doing the same thing.
yeah,
I'm going to lose Bruno instead, which feels a little bit better. But of course, all these players can punish, so
yeah.
it's just part of the game.
Munez is next for Fulham, once again on the goals imminent table currently. As you're surprised, which is no surprise, he's been really getting the underlying stats. His minutes per shot on target every 59 minutes, which is the second best on this table for those behind Chris Wood, for those with 3 goals, three starts rather. But yeah, no returns, not for want of trying. West Ham and Newcastle at home. Of course, his big game last season was home to Tottenham when he wasn't expected to do well. It would be classic FPL. Lots of people removing him for Pedro, and he actually scores in this little run here. But I'm going to keep him. I'm happy to keep him for these two, I think.
Yeah, I really like Muniz as well. Owners probably unlucky not to have more from him so far, and those fixtures on paper look fine to me, even though one of them is Newcastle. I don't think that's an issue, particularly when Newcastle are away from home themselves. Muniz, I was having a look this week on the Scout members area, just had a few stats, total number of stats for the first 3 game weeks. Muniz's numbers are good, but I think it's important to note as well. I think off the top of my head, something like 11 shots in the box, but 7 headers. So like
Yeah,
he gets a lot of headed chances, which are obviously a lot harder to score than
yeah.
your regular chances. He does like the spectacular as well. So those efforts are lower XG also, of course. So yeah, I still like him. I think he will still prove to be good value over the course of the season. Yeah, and I'm hoping for people like yourself that a bit of patience will be rewarded with 2 home fixtures.
Yeah, as you said, he had 11 shots, and all 11 of those from close range, which indicates obviously a lot of those being headers. That's what I want to see. I want to see him shoot. I just need more on target, and as you said, that's difficult with the headers. But yeah, happy to keep the next 2 games definitely, and then it's a reassess time. Armstrong, I would imagine most people are going to give up on him because most of his underlying stats comes from that Newcastle game when they were down to 10 men, and he was hauled on 55 minutes, presumably for tactical reasons. I don't know any other, but yeah, I mean, we can probably sketch over Armstrong unless you really want to talk about him.
Unfortunately for Armstrong, it's he's a championship, he's a superstar in the championship, but he just struggles to, step up to the Premier League. Hopefully this will be his season, but so far, no evidence to suggest that. I don't even think he's a
No.
guaranteed starter at the moment with Archer there now as well. So yeah, I think if you've got him, you probably let him go, and I certainly wouldn't be buying him.
Okay. And final name on the list, Pedro. We've already spoken about him, really. His minutes per shot on target is on a par, really, with Welbeck every 85 minutes, but his minutes per expected goal involvement every 240 minutes. What I do like about him, though, is penalties. What I also like about him is that he appears to be more of a 90-minute man, and he is very good at scoring late goals. He can conjure up things out of nowhere. And so his underlying stats with a player like him, I don't mind so much because I just feel he has more routes to points and scoring. But you said you're feeling smug because you've got Pedro and Isak in your team. I would be too if I had both.
Yeah, it's a funny one. I was reluctant to pick Pedro game week 1 because I did it last season as well. And I think he scored the first week, but didn't do too much after that. And I missed out on, Mbumo, Matoma, a couple others to start of last season. But I'm glad I put that aside and went there. He was kind of the final piece of the jigsaw in my game week 1 team. I was it was 5.5 left over, either a forward or a midfielder, Smith Rowe or these guys, Pereira, and thankfully went for Pedro. Great pick for the next two, whether you own him or you're thinking about buying him. Absolutely recommend going there.
Yep. I am going to, before we go, just quickly put up the captaincy matrix table. There are obviously forwards in here, but it just shows the sort of heavy hitters that we might need. And the overall for this is that Haaland is a very, very good choice for captain game week 4. Not so in game week 5 when he faces Arsenal. Not so in game week 6 when he faces Newcastle. And then game week 7 to 11, Haaland is pretty much the top choice captain, depending on your, that's debatable with all these things, but he's a very strong captain choice right up until game week 12, where Salah is at home to Southampton. And there's a lot of other options over this period. Obviously, Salah, it can be a good captaincy shout any week, really. But you've got things like, what I like, things like game week 7, Bowen at home to Ipswich sort of stands out as quite a good captain for those who want to go without Haaland. And Bomo at home to Ipswich as well, game week 9 as well. So some of these kind of cheaper players, you can take some risks with captaincy, but you're obviously betting against Haaland. But some people, the reason I mention that is because there are people, unlike us, who don't have Haaland and are doing really well and can continue to do well. But what does this sort of this picture of the captaincy over the next 8 game weeks or so tell you about your plans, not just for this week, but looking ahead and your wild card?
Yeah, I think it tells me that Haaland is very likely just to stay throughout. I've been there since game week 1. There's obviously an argument to, consider just keeping Salah and losing Haaland on a game week 6 wildcard. But then, as you've pointed out here, game week 7 to game week 11, very good fixtures with captaincy in mind. So I think Haaland will be a mainstay for me. I've always been as loyal as I can be to him. I didn't sell him at points previously last season, for example, when people did. So I think I'll probably fall on that side of things again. And again, when I look at alternatives here, there's a lot of good players in here, but there's a lot of players that are not performing fantastically well FPL wise. Watkins has the minutes issues, so that scares me off captaincy. Scares me off owning him, never mind captaincy. Son had, what was it, one good game week, but not so much elsewhere. Bowen's in here as well. Again, a stat. Look, going back to those stats again in the members area. Jared Bowen, it surprised me. He's only had 3 shots so far. Averaging only 1 shot a game. Doesn't fill you with confidence. I think Son's only had maybe something like 5. I need to double check that as well. But yeah, the alternatives just keep pushing me back towards Erling Haaland, owning him throughout and captaining him very, very often.
Yeah. Indeed. Okay, thanks so much for joining me, Mark. Good luck with your game week 4 moves, because you've got quite a few to do. Not good luck for me because, well, good luck to me for hope I don't make any more moves, because any more moves is going to be hits.
Yeah. I'll make sure I get Robertson in so you can't afford him then.
No, don't. I'm okay. I know, actually, I'm okay for you to get Robertson, but anyone, all the thousands of people watching and listening, don't get Robertson in. And for heaven's sake, if you've got Quanta, you've got to keep him. So on that note, thanks a lot for joining me. Just a reminder, do press that like button, do subscribe, and we'll see you again next week. Good luck for Game Week 4. See you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.